Okay, so good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Wellness Talks. My name is Hilton Lipkin. I am the General Manager of Alba Wellness Valley in Hue, and I am also the Ambassador for World Wellness Weekend Vietnam. Today, we are very honored to have a small chat with Mr. Tevia, who is currently based not very far from us in Vietnam, in Da Nang. Mr. Tevia has an incredibly interesting history of where and how he came to where he is today, which I found fascinating. So I would like to rack his brain a little bit today and see if he can share some of his experiences with us. I found it fascinating, so I hope everyone finds it fascinating. So Tevia, thanks again for your time. Great to speak to you again. And first of all, if you would maybe like to give a small introduction.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'm honored to be here. Small introduction about myself. Let's see. I started Qigong at about 7 years old because I was born with chronic illness, and my parents didn't want me to be in hospitals and with doctors and on medication my whole life. And so they got me into a natural alternative form of healing. And this form was called Qigong. They also had me eating organic foods and such, and they had a very alternative lifestyle. But Qigong was, I would say, a focal point in my training to become a stronger person. And that's how I got into Qigong today. Now, today, I run what's called White Tiger Qigong. I founded this Qigong Academy. We're now online as well. We have an online academy, whitetigerqigong.com. And we have over 75 plus instructors around the world. And we have almost 60,000 members of White Tiger Qigong participating in what I consider a huge movement towards health and wellness, and also a healing for humanity, as I believe it can be a healing for humanity. And that's a deep topic. So you said keep a short intro, so I'll leave it at that.
No. You're ticking all the boxes. This is what we want to know, and that's fantastic. I think we'll cover that in a second. But maybe if you can just share the experience that you told us the other day about your accident and how you actually recovered.
Well, fast forward from when I was 7 years old, fast forward to when I was about 19 years old. I was in a brutal car accident. My car was smashed like a pancake, and I came out limping and covered in blood. And I went to the hospital. I went in for an MRI, and they said, "Oh, you're going to need surgery on your spine." And they also told me I'm going to need surgery on my knee. They said there's no way around it. Now, I was frightened because I was, a young man, and having to go under the knife was a scary thought. Because I know from back surgery, once you have back surgery, it's never the same. You're never the same. You don't have the same kind of range of motion, same kind of movement. And so this was very scary for me. I went to the master that I was training Qigong with at the time, and he said, "Don't do surgery yet." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm in, I had debilitating back pain. If I sat any more than 30 minutes, it's very gentle, it's very relaxing, and it loosened my spine, loosened the muscles around my spine. And I was able to, sit for another 3 hours without back pain, but then would come on again. But he just had me keeping on doing this exercise over and over again. Anytime I had the back pain, I would revert back to this exercise, do it for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I was fine. The back pain would dissipate. Now, 4 years later, I was pain-free. And I attribute that to the Qigong. Now, I have a back that I would say is in better condition than most people half my age I know. And so it's all because of this Qigong. And a lot of times there's a misconception that Qigong is some sort of magical, esoteric practice, which there are some of those types of practices that are out there. But this Qigong that I do, I call it functional Qigong because it has a direct purpose and function that can have an impact on your health and well-being. So this Qigong, and to this day, I never had the surgery on my spine or my knee, and I feel in incredible shape. And I feel at my prime right now. And so it's from a daily practice of this Qigong. So,
like I said, fascinating. And the thing is, you're living proof. So, I mean, many times in life, we study things or we do things or things happen. And then, you know, we go in different directions relative to the experiences we've had or what people have told us, or most of the time, our education. But in your case, you literally are doing what saved your life. So I'm sure no one can convince you otherwise that it is functional and it definitely works, correct?
absolutely. And, you know, I'd say we're at a crossroads right now in human history as we can walk the path of becoming dependent on the medical system, or we can walk the path of being able to do self-healing. Now, granted, I think there's a place for medical treatments. Absolutely. I'm not criticizing any of that. But what I want to emphasize is the dependency that is so common in modern society on the medical system, rather than using it as a methodology to treat something acute or a severe injury. But if we can use Qigong as a natural preventative medicine, coupled with a healing diet and general healthy lifestyle, I think you won't need to spend a fraction of the amount of money and spend a fraction of the amount of time in hospitals and with doctors. So, and that's the point I think is really important to make about Qigong and a healthy lifestyle.
I think maybe if we can try and just step back a little bit in layman's terms, because, for example, I'll be on the side of the novice here. If someone says to me, Qigong, I'm thinking up in the mountains, people doing martial arts and being, you know, super disciplined and pretty much movie style type of thing. And we know that Qigong is now becoming more and more mainstream within the wellness world. So maybe if you can, not in too much detail, explain to someone what is Qigong.
Well, yeah, so Qigong is essentially just the general broad definition is the skill of working with energy. So Qi is just simply energy. And if we look at the character, the traditional Chinese character for Qi, it's gas combined with a rice kernel popping. Okay, so you combine two elements and you create combustion. It's simple alchemy. So how you can produce Qi or create Qi is to simply take a breath of air in. Once the air goes into your body, the air we call Kong Qi, and the air goes into your body and then it produces energy. So think before you're lifting something heavy or pushing something heavy, you're going to take a deep breath in so your body prepares itself so you get energy from the oxygen. Okay, so that's an example of Qi energy. So it's really simple. It's nothing magical about it. It's just simple science. And then you have food Qi, so Qi from the food. So you eat food and you get energy. So that's Qi from the food. So that's all that Qi is. So what we're doing is we're working with the energy from the air and then being able to move that energy through the body. Now, what is that energy like? Can we actually measure that energy? And yes, we can. And we can scientifically measure that energy through electrical charges in the fascia. The fascia is important to understand because the fascia is a modern sports science. The fascia is literally this fibery, gluey, spidery web underneath your skin that wraps around the muscles, wraps around the organs, wraps around the bones, and then becomes the bone. So your body is held together, is glued together by this connective tissue called fascia. And fascia, when we coil and uncoil fascia, you can measure it with a scientific instrument to generate an electrical charge. And that's what I'm proposing that Qi is. It's that electrical charge that we're able to send throughout the body. And we know that that is the catalyst for the movement of blood. So essentially, we're using those electrical charges to circulate blood through the body and get energy through that. So what we're doing.
If I can just quickly stop you, sorry, Tevia.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there is an overlay between medical and modern medicine and Tai Chi. Because when you're saying that we can measure through the fascia, which is a medical term used by modern medicine, and then we can measure the energies, that's quite interesting. So they do overlap each other in this instance when you're explaining this.
Yeah, absolutely. They do overlap each other. And one point I want to make, because you mentioned Tai Chi. So Tai Chi is a type originally it's one of the 3,000 kinds of Qigong. This type of Qigong that I do is actually what's termed as medical Qigong, because it's focused on health and benefits. But I want to say, medical is more of a clinical term, and I don't think it should actually have this clinical context, although it can. I would like to actually call it longevity Qigong or healing Qigong. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. There is that overlap, and with modern medical science and Qigong, this is what I've sought to bridge over the past decade, is working with neuroscientists, working with sports science experts and professional educators to create a comprehensive curriculum that bridges East and Western knowledge.
I definitely think that these ancient healing traditions, if I may use that terminology, are definitely becoming more mainstream, and there's definitely a awakening in the world for people taking light and being more receptive to these type of activities. I mean, we all know, going back not a long time, people were no, that's a relaxation technique, which is still medical, by the way, but they didn't respect it in terms of it healing your back, for example, in your case. I think it's becoming more and more accepted with people like yourself and your organization, which you are educating people. But would you say that there is a acceptance within the Western world of this, or there's still a long way to go?
Well, I think yoga kind of cleared the path for us. So because so many people have seen the benefits of yoga, they're able to be open and receptive to the potential benefits of Qigong. And so it is starting to get into the mainstream. Like, it's been on primetime television in London. It's been on television all over the United States. It's becoming a more and more popularized practice, and it is going more mainstream now. So there's millions of people around the world doing Qigong now. And I've seen that increase exponentially since I've been in this world. So when I first started teaching Qigong, well over a decade ago, there was hardly anyone I knew doing Qigong.
I'm sure.
But everybody and their brother knows what Tai Chi is. But most of them that you ask, do you know what Qigong is? They don't know.
Why would you say that? Sorry, why would you say that Tai Chi is more mainstream than Qigong?
Because Tai Chi was being promoted by the Chinese government for many years. So there's a political connection with that, in that was actually promoted with actually a government package, or spending, I should say, spending on promoting Tai Chi as part of the Chinese cultural promotion, if you want to call it that. But sharing and promoting the culture, the government spends a certain amount of money to promote, and that's one of the practices that they spent a lot of money on for many years promoting. Qigong was looked at as more esoteric, and it's very broad because there's 3,000 kinds of Qigong, as I mentioned. So it wasn't promoted so much until just recently. There is more and more being promoted because it's been used with cancer. There's whole schools of Qigong in China that are devoted just for cancer. And there's a walking Qigong style that's just for cancer treatment, and which I've trained in, and also have students who train in that. So, so Qigong can be used for cancer, it can be used for sports performance. So you had the athletic teams in the Asian Games back in the 90s were using Qigong for optimal peak performance. I've worked personally with the world champion female karate fighter of 2019. She used Qigong for winning her tournaments. I worked with the North American Muay Thai champion. He used Qigong for healing his body and his immune system from being a professional fighter. So it's used in these martial worlds, and it's used by professional athletes for peak performance. So it has multiple use cases.
You're listing them off here. I'm convinced. No, but I think it's fantastic that we're bringing this to light, because I mean, I'm involved in the wellness industry, and I do see many different activities and disciplines and medical, what should I say, medical theories or whatever it may be. But I'm learning a lot from what you're telling me. So I don't think people know enough. And again, like we said, it's definitely growing in terms of popularity. So how could people become more involved? How could people become more educated? Obviously by doing one of your courses, but is there any other way that people can delve into and try and investigate and find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have a YouTube channel with well over 100 free videos that people can dive into, and you could spend weeks on there going through our videos. We have videos on Qigong for the nervous system, Qigong for sleep, Qigong for back pain, Qigong for any type of sort of thing. If you just want a free video, and then I got a free ebook as well that people can download on a form called 5-Element Qigong. So I have all these resources. I have a blog that has a plethora of information on Qigong. And so right there, you got a ton of free resources right there. For those who want to dive deeper, of course, I have online courses and ebooks and master courses and even teacher trainings for those who want to eventually become a teacher in Qigong if they resonate with the practice.
So again, where could they find these, what is the YouTube link or address?
Yeah, the YouTube link is, go to YouTube and you type in White Tiger Qigong. Qigong is spelled Qigong. That's Qigong. And then my website is whitetigerqigong.com. And yeah, so all of that information can be found on there. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so maybe if we can deviate a bit, I mean, that's been very, very enlightening and educational. Now, let me ask you a little bit about wellness that is out there today, beyond your discipline, which you swear by and live by, which is fully understandable because the proof is in the pudding. How do you see the wellness industry today out there? I mean, in terms of nutrition, in terms of environmental, what is your take on what's going on?
That's a big nut to crack. I mean, because
yeah, maybe I should refine that a bit, but let's try anyway.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, to me, health and wellness is becoming trendy. Like, I'm seeing people who were just like in regular corporate jobs and now have become health and wellness gurus in a matter of a year. Whereas there's other people who've been living in the health and wellness arena for decades. And so you've got to look at where you're gathering your information from. Are they trying to make a quick buck? Is it becoming a form of just sales and marketing, or does this person actually live and breathe the health and wellness, mantra, so to speak, in their daily life? So that's where we have to look at the person that we're learning from. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult one because, like you said, there's a lot out there, and a lot of qualifications out there as well, and so-called gurus, as you mentioned.
Yeah. So where do you get your information from? Well, there's so much information out there. It can be information overload. I personally read like global health and wellness trends. It's like a newsletter and stuff like that, where I'm trying to look at things and understand things from a broader perspective in terms of where health and wellness is going. And what it is happening is there's a huge trend and emergence with technology. So I would actually call it a convergence. There's a convergence with technology and health and wellness. So you have this new trend of like Fitbits and smartwatches, which can tell you your pulse rate, your heart rate, your HRV, which is your heart rate variability, which is something used to measure longevity and health as well, measure your stress levels. And there you can get an actual measurement if what you're doing is actually working. So that's, there's a trend called biohacking, which I'm really into, which I consider actually like it was an ancient Taoist practice. The Taoists were ancient biohackers, which means they were just searching for the golden elixir, the elixir of life, to the answer for ultimate longevity. And the biohacker community is these types of people who are looking for those hacks, what they call hacks, to attain ultimate peak performance and health and wellness. And so that is something I recommend people check out. So, just a simple biohack, is just hacking the breath, which is hacking the nervous system. By taking control of your breath, you can take control of your nervous system. So like your nervous system, you have your parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest, and you have your sympathetic, which is your fight or flight. Now, all too often in modern life, we're living in the sympathetic state, which is the fight or flight, where you drink, a couple cups of coffee to get the juices flowing in the morning, and then you're, late for work and you got a deadline and you're stressed, and you come home and you've got bills to pay, and your stress is piled up a mile high, and you need another cup of coffee to get through the day, just to make it through the day. And then you're burnt out, and then you sit on a couch with a big cup of beer and a pizza and a Netflix show, because you've got nothing left in you.
This is not sounding like wellness at all.
No, exactly. So, what would be going into the opposite way is, this is what how health and wellness can go into the opposite way, is show you hacks, or what the biohackers are doing to actually step back, start to get into a rhythm, a healthy rhythm, and change your lifestyle, and get into something that's going to really give you clarity of mind, clear decision making, have optimal energy. And this is where the health and wellness world is going. There's so many different niches within the health and wellness world. As you've talked about, you've got food, you've got movement, you've got all that, nutrition, the wearables, the tech. But where I focus on is the movement and meditation aspect, as it's cultivating the energy.
So basically, people have no excuse. It's time to make some changes.
Well, absolutely, especially with the reality that we're facing with the current pandemic, that your immune system is going to be key in warding off any type of infection. And so that should be someone's highest priority, is their health and wellness, because without it, you have nothing. Because if you're sick in a hospital bed or sick in bed frequently, you've got nothing to offer, and you've got nothing to give. And so to me, that your body is your temple. So you should look at that temple to optimize it and keep it really healthy and shiny and clean.
Yes. And I think, unfortunately, human nature is we wait till disaster to react. And that's a historic thing. And, we don't repair a building until it falls apart. We don't take care of ourselves until we get some red flags jumping up. And I think it's really important what you said. There's so much out there, and it's not massive efforts. But I think the pandemic has definitely brought this to light and helped people realize that, your health, like you said, it's all you have. And I suppose we could tell people that, you can sit around and think that nothing's going to happen to you, but it's a scientific fact, and that, you know, if you just do nothing, you will get into trouble. And we've seen that with the COVID, definitely.
Well, the good news is one of the massive trends I've seen from the pandemic is a huge portion of the population has woken up to the fact that they have to take their health and wellness into their own hands and do something about it and take action. And so we're seeing an unprecedented amount of people coming into Qigong, and that we've never seen before. It's huge amounts of people coming into Qigong. Literally, our member group grew from like 5,000 people to like almost 60,000 in a matter of a year and a half because of the pandemic. So we're seeing a huge influx of people into the health and wellness world, for sure.
That's why I told you the other day when we were talking that I hate you, because we're all suffering through these last 2 years, and you're flourishing. But I mean, you're flourishing in a fantastic way, and it's helping people. And I mean, kudos to you. I think it's amazing. And it's really great that people do wake up and that we, you know, can have a healthier and happier world. I think it's super important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, as for your white tiger, Qigong, and the different retreats and activities and educational programs you organize, we also have World Wellness Weekend, which is an important part that we've become involved in. And it's on the 16, 17, and 18 of September. And every year, the whole world comes together in all different forms of activities for wellness. And as wellness practitioners and wellness believers, we try and promote a healthier and happier world to everybody to get involved. So I certainly hope that this year we can be involved together in World Wellness Weekend, and we can portray more happiness and healthy people around the world and get everybody involved. So in summing up, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to share with our listeners, any last minute advice from the master?
Well, what I just want to say before we part is that you have the choice now, and the time is now to take your health and wellness into your own hands and not be dependent on anyone else. And there's this type of practice called Qigong, which I highly believe in because of my own healing for myself and the thousands of people that I've worked with from around the world, from everything from Parkinson's disease to really severe trauma, to world-class champion athletes, hedge fund managers, and just the everyday common man and woman. And so I see this as a wonderful opportunity to be able to have a lifelong practice to take your health into your own hands and find your optimal energy and feel at your peak, because you know, that's what I love so much is at the end of the day, I feel fantastic. And that's what I want for everybody else, to have emotional balance and to have balance within their body and find that peace and happiness that they're looking for.
And we can hear it in your voice. We can hear it in your passion. We can hear it in your motivation. So it's inspiring. Again, I was inspired first when I met you. I was inspired when I heard more in detail about your story. And once again, very inspiring and very educational. So Tevia, I mean, thank you very much on behalf of the wellness community of the world, and on behalf of World Wellness Weekend and obviously Alba Wellness Valley. We'd like to thank you very much for taking your time and sharing your experiences and information with us. And please, everybody, go ahead, investigate, contact Tevia. There's a lot out there, and he is there to help you and make some changes in your life. Thank you very much, Tevia.
Thank you so much.